I do think it's important to take a minute to just remember where we were. I mean, for 8 years, the underfunding was just criminal. The shifting of capital funds to operating funds, the fact during that time there was 32% increase in fares, which was historic. The breakdowns and the accidents per mile during that 8 years doubled. It became a dumping ground for political patronage. I think we identified at least a dozen individuals making the highest salaries at NJ Transit who had no experience. We saw procurement for essential replacement parts go from 100 days to 600 days. And family leave back, I want to come back to, because when I reflect on my notes, there were over 10% of the entire workforce that had and were on family leave. So I want to get back to that in a moment. I want to know what we're doing about that. But as a lot of us can remember, or maybe still a part of, you know, I was elected mayor. It's a long time ago. For 3 months, I was the new mayor. After 3 months, I was the mayor. So it's you and you at this point, with regardless of that history, you know, who everybody's looking to and counting on. But I want to emphasize for a moment the positive train control. I want to make sure I'm right about these statistics. For 7 years, when PTC was put forward as a requirement through the Act of Congress implemented by the FRA, the accomplishment up until January was 13%. Is that correct?
12.
Or 12%, okay. And in the last 7 months, or 242 days, as 30 days, as the Senator Kane put it, that number is now 52%?
58.
58% compliance. I said a little lower or a little higher for the effect. Right? So the New Jersey Transit was one of 6 of 40 systems that were actually fined, and there were hundreds of thousands of fines from the FRA for a whole variety of transgressions. Have we been fined in the last 7 months since you've taken over?
No, for PTC, in fact, we were put on notice, a letter, the quarterly letter, if you're not at 90%, that you send a letter quarterly saying that you are an at-risk line, and we are still at risk, hence my intensity on PTC. But they have noted, Ron Vittori has noted, he said after the last quarterly review, and we got up to 58%, they made the observation that they've noticed a dramatic change in culture for the better in New Jersey Transit and how we're approaching PTC.
That was going to be my next question. Is there a way that they communicate the relationship between basically your oversight body and now NJ Transit? What's going on with that?
FRA is a regulatory agency, but they also are an ability to help if you work with your regulators. And I think beforehand they felt that New Jersey Transit was not being open and honest and transparent. The head of the FRA, Ron Vittori, is extremely knowledgeable. He was a former president of Conrail. He knows this area very well, has friends all over it for generations. So, you know, I think being open, direct, and looking for them, they want to see America run safe railroads, and we run a very safe railroad. PTC is a safety enhancement. It's not like we're not running safe railroads now. It's a safety enhancement. And, you know, they want to see us succeed. They want to see all other commuter railroads succeed and the freight railroads. So if you work with the FRA and their team, my experience is they are very, very helpful, and they have been extremely helpful in helping us you know, find a path that can get us to completion by December 31st.
I wanted, again, reflecting upon what I think our collective study was, New Jersey Transit was losing since 2010 to 17. NJ Transit was losing 2 engineers for every 1 they hired. That's correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that left us, you know, I mean, I can ask the question, how could a manager not see that and nobody do anything before this? But I mean, maybe that's just obvious. What, as it relates to, and again, the numbers are just astounding. In 2015 and 2016, Metro North hired 100 engineers. New Jersey Transit, same 2 years, hired 10. That's correct?
I can't speak to the number for the MTA, but I can for New Jersey Transit.
You know, I know like $8 is a big difference, but it's not. Metro North pays $45.83 an hour, where we pay $37.67. money is money, and $10 is a lot of money to any working family, and especially per hour and across. But I just think like cost of living and other things, New York versus New Jersey, is it solely because of the reason of the dollars?
I would suggest to you, Senator, that we need to do a better job in selling the value of the position, and that's in anywhere in government. Government always is on the lower end of the pay scale, whether it's hiring design engineers, construction engineers, or train engineers. There's value to them working for New Jersey Transit and not going to New York to take an engineering job there. But it's up to us to sell that employee, to sell that trainee on the importance of staying with New Jersey Transit after they're trained. That's just key. And government offers a tremendous number of benefits, and living in your home state and working in your home state offers a tremendous number of benefits. Not that long ago, on one of the governor's Ask the Governor programs, we had a gentleman named Mike who works for Norfolk Southern, oh no, he works for CSX, don't mind me, CSX. And he really wants to be a New Jersey Transit engineer. And part of the issue is how we make the commitment back to them that choose to leave a job to come to us. Those are programs that are working out now. If you leave a CSX job, a freight engineer isn't the same as a passenger train engineer, and there's training that has to happen to make the conversion. And we're working on trying to make that conversion as short as possible. And he doesn't live in New Jersey, but he has a lot of folks that would like to come to work on commuter rail. It's a more predictable schedule. So we're working on a path forward to bring people in to help us raise that number up. And the program for freight to passenger is not the same as a full trainee going to passenger. So we are doing the very best we can to increase the number here, to explain to them why they should stay. And frankly, if we train them, to get a commitment back from them that they will work for New Jersey Transit and they won't take our training and then go work for Metro North. We have to put some, there has to be, if we're going to train you, then there has to be a commitment back to transit that they're going to stay with us.
Can I ask a question about that? And I hope
Sure.
I'm misinformed, but can one of the New Jersey Transit engineers, when they call out, not that they're supposed to do, but is it possible that they go work per diem, especially in the summer, over at Metro North or the LIR?
I don't have an answer to that question.
I could say that one of the things that's tricky about training, for the FRA requirement for each railroad, you have to have your own individual training program. There are different natures of each railroad. So that has to be confirmed. The training program is by the FRA, and you have to constantly be updating your quals. So for somebody to do that, they would have to be qualified on that railroad. And there aren't that many
but
that would be.
through the chair, is that going on? Is somebody moonlighting, so to speak, over there at our detriment because they're making some more money in the summer? Because I'm assuming maybe summer costs, they get more than even the 47 an hour?
Not that we're aware of, sir.
They should not be.
But not that we're aware of. I don't know that we have any today that we know are working on Metro North when they should be dedicated to New Jersey Transit.
If there were, we would certainly investigate those. If we had any hint of those, investigate and to call that out.
Okay, and relative to and by the way, I'm going to join Senator Weinberg in saying it's a little disappointing. We're looking now to expedite a bill to just deal with the employment status of engineers to try to deal with the problem. But this was something known to us 6 months ago when we became the mayor, so to speak. So I guess shame on us and shame on the administration for not pressing this earlier, knowing the summer was coming.
Again, I would say we did know it. We didn't know that the call-outs were going to be as high as they would be this summer. But we do have 4 training classes now where there were previous years where it was 0 or 1. So it's just the time lag it takes compared to a bus driver, for example.
So Assemblyman, I would say that the administration did jump on it because we established 4 classes. The problem is those 4 classes are going to take 20 months to get to fruition. So as we could have come in on our very first day, 213 days ago, and established 4 classes, and I still would not have new engineers to fill the holes that were made in these cancellations.
Appreciate it, Commissioner, because it takes at least a year before
20
someone
months.
can be, or more, obviously. Right. Relative to the problem that we have on FM, the FEMA.
FMLA.
Yeah, is that, have you looked to the engineers calling out? Are they using that mechanism of falling off Assemblyman Bambrick's question on for reasons for not showing up to work?
Sure, they have an approved FMLA program from their doctor. They get to take time under that. I believe they have a total of 12 weeks of FMLA available to them. I don't know, I think it's on an annual basis. I'd have to go back and look, but they can use FMLA on a short notice call, yes.
It goes back to May of 17 when it was 10% of the workforce. What are we doing to make certain that that important benefit, if you will, isn't abused?
I would say the majority of our employees, both union and non-union, do not abuse it. But I would say, just as what I saw in the private sector, there are certain people who learn how to game the system, and they know to take this day, another one on every day, and those are, whether it be private sector, public sector, union, non-union, that's an issue.
Assemblyman, there's little we can do to curtail FMLA if a doctor has given an employee a certification for FMLA. HIPAA laws prevent us from getting any more information than that which they provide in the note. And so we take an awful lot of this information at face value. And sadly, it is not difficult for someone to go out and get a note from a doctor for purposes of FMLA. That is not just at transit, that is on your toll roads, that is in state government. It just has become, and it's not just New Jersey either. I can speak to that. FMLA is while its intentions were good, the fact that, no good deed goes unpunished, there are abusers. And it's very, very hard to curtail it the way we might like to in other areas of absenteeism or employee behavior.
I'm familiar, just two areas of questions, and then I'll turn it back to the chair to allow others to speak. A program, and in part it goes to what John was saying about just public relations. An ambassador program, I think, is very effective and impactful, having someone hanging around at a station to answer questions, to be there. I understand that that's done on a voluntary basis, meaning that your employees are relieved of their regular duties, I guess, and act as an ambassador on a particular day?
That's right. We ask people to volunteer for special events.
And so why doesn't more of that happen as it relates to having ambassadors every day out and around? You don't have the personnel you need to hire. Forgetting about engineers, how far are we down on our table of organization? How many employees do we need to catch up?
Well, I think if we're talking non-union, those not covered under CBA, collective bargaining agreements, we have about 400 vacancies in the agency. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I will. They're telling me to wrap it up. So not to ending it at everybody is. They all are.
Okay, you want to wrap it up, Chairman? I'm good.
I just feel compelled to all of us are frustrated based on our constituencies, and South Orange, Maplewood, one of my constituencies, and all of our constituencies. In the month of July alone, 80% of those commuters, our customers, it indicated either being very dissatisfied or dissatisfied with NJ Transit. On the average, they all experienced 5 cancellations during that month, and the third piece being that they found out at the station. So I guess it seems like these problems are a little systemic. We're not going to overnight make it better for the month of August. So what are we going to do for our constituencies? Atlantic City's a different issue because they're closing down, as is the other line. What are we going to do? Are we going to cross honor? Are we going to have more buses, ferries? What's the plan?
I would say that it's, as I touched on in the beginning, it's a balance of knowing, for example, if you are in the operations center and you're going down that list at Friday at 4 o'clock because of the rest periods, without getting too much in the weeds, you may think, if you're listening and you're hearing how many have not called in yet with the 5-hour notice, et cetera, or people who are on rest respite for the 4-hour rest respite, that you're going to have to annul 60 trains. And then as they start coming in, you do that dance and triage process. Last Friday, for example, we ended up having significant no-shows, but we still ended up by 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, having annulled 10 trains, 5 in the Newark division and 5 in the Hoboken division. So it's getting, you don't want to cut too much because you don't want to have equipment and engineers available not being used. On the other hand, clearly when we had a bigger turnout, a bigger fall off than expected, that's why we were starting to put the PTC trains out on noticing the night before, and we had to look at our schedule at the fall going forward. How do we strike that balance where we can give, it's a balance between service and giving dependability of schedule to those who really feel that's more important than the maximum number of seats out.
Well, we're going to count on you to, the summer of hell wasn't so bad. The communication was good. I get the expectations were low, and did a pretty good job managing it. So we're hopeful